The play on the field, the courts, and the ice is just one part of sports. Behind every game are the people hard at work so we can enjoy the action. They're the owners, administrators, agents, broadcasters, and promoters who bring the games to life. Meet them when you go behind the game with Patrick Klinger and Bill Robertson. Welcome to Behind the Game. I'm Patrick Klinger, the president of Agile Marketing Partners. Today is a very special episode because we're going to look back at the year in sports and what a year it has been. Joining me are two of my absolutely all-time favorite people, Bill Robertson, the commissioner of the Western Collegiate Hockey Association, and the legendary sports writer from the St. Paul Pioneer Press, Charley Walters. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Hey, Patrick. Always great to be with you. And the commissioner, of course.
Always holidays to you both.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. Same to you. Nice to be here.
Hey, Charley, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to throw the first question at you, and Billy, jump in on this too, please. You know, 2020 has been a year like none other, right? Many sporting events have been canceled. Those that have taken place, most of them have not had fans in attendance. When do you expect that we will return to some semblance of normalcy in the world of sports?
You know, I wish it were. Wish I could say it would be as soon as we get those virus shots, the vaccinations, Patrick. But the way it's gone, I'm not confident in anything till hopefully next spring, and I'm not really confident in that. That would mean, hopefully the Twins will be able to put some people back at Target Field, but I'm just not optimistic at anything. My wife is, as you know, is a physician. My daughter is a physician, and they are aligned with Anthony Fauci pretty much that this is going to take time. And I don't expect much. I'm not a doctor, of course, but the way it's going, they just seem to be throwing everything they can in there to get that TV money and forcing it all. And it's a shame. It's not even real, I don't think. It's almost artificial sports, but money drives everything. And so, as you know, so I'm not optimistic about. I'm just hoping. I would hope somehow that maybe by May or early June we'd have a regular baseball season, golf again, the Masters in April. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the NFL season is just, that's an artificial thing. It's just like piping in all this artificial noise at these events. It's just almost fake to me. The whole thing's almost fake. And I wish maybe, I don't wish, but maybe it would have been as good a thing as if they would have just let, not take the year off and not play games. But then what would we do? I mean, a lot of people would be sitting at home and they'd still have to watch this, what's left of the sport. So, but I'm not optimistic for it till early next spring after everybody gets the vaccinations. It's just a scary deal still. And it's still on the rampage.
Right. And Bill, you live this every day. I mean, as the commissioner of the Western Collegiate Hockey Association, you're dealing with this issue as we speak. What do you think? How are you handling it in your capacity?
Well, I would say the number one thing as the commissioner of the WCHA and having worked through this for the past 8 months, in fact, 5 minutes before our episode is airing here, we had a call from one of our schools saying they're having to cancel a series next weekend because they have another outbreak. And so what I've learned through all this, Patrick and Charley, is that you have to be flexible, adaptable, and you need to be able to pivot at the top of the hat. And if you can't do those things as a leader of a sports organization or a franchise, you're not going to make it. And in my opinion, that's the only way to get through it and take it as they come. I don't like to use the cliche all the time that it's one day at a time, but really this pandemic has put everybody in a situation where it is really working a day at a time, a week at a time, and not getting too far ahead of yourself. I personally don't see fans coming back until probably July 1st. of 2021 overall. And the reason I think that, gentlemen, is the fact that to get everyone vaccinated in the United States and Canada, et cetera, all over the world, it's going to take a while. I do believe we'll have some fans available to come to games, and they'll be socially distanced, but it certainly won't be at the capacity of a full stadium until, I think, like I said, July 1 is when I think there's a chance for that to happen. But there's still a lot of work that has to be done prior to that. And I don't really see any of our teams in the WCHA, as an example, having fans in their arenas this coming year that's already started.
Patrick, can you hear me?
I can.
If I may, let me ask the commissioner a question. Billy, just simply, basically, why are you guys, as a guy who runs an organization, runs a college sport, why are you guys having a season? Simply.
Well, I think more than anything, these student athletes want to play hockey, and the schools want to play, because in our league in particular, 9 of the 10 schools are playing at the Division II level in all sports except hockey. And this is their crown jewel sport, and they want to see if we can get it up and running and going. And I knew there were going to be issues coming into the season, Charlie and Patrick. Absolutely knew that we would have challenges and games would get canceled. I knew this was going to happen. Whether it can continue at this pace, I don't know. If the safety and health of these student athletes is an issue, then I will, as commissioner, make a decision that we're going to have to shut down the season, because that's the most important thing. I mean, these kids are going to school to get an education. Most of them are doing it online, but I think if they can play enough games and make it a season, then it's worthwhile for these kids to want to represent their school in an athletic competition.
Follow up, Billy. In retrospect, has it been worth it so far?
It's been a real challenge, Charlie. I don't know if it's been worth it yet. Every time my phone rings, my cell phone rings, if it's an athletic director, I know it's going to be regarding an issue with COVID-19. And I had that one just a few minutes ago. So I don't know if it's worth it. I do think trying to get it up and running, that was my goal, and to see where it comes out. I mean, our regular season doesn't start until January 1, and hopefully some of this will have settled down. There's no guarantee of it, but I'm hopeful. And then we can play our regular 18 or 16 to 18 game regular season schedule and have the ability to play in the NCAA tournament if at all possible.
Well, it's impressive that you've gotten this far. I will say that.
We know the Big Ten initially announced that the season would not be played this year, and then reversed course and started the games at the end of October. Many of the games, though, have been canceled. And I wonder if you think that the Big Ten regrets a little bit the process that they've gone through to get to this point. If they should have just stuck with their original decision not to have played any games this year.
Well, I don't think they regret the TV money. That's why they're doing it. And we both know Kevin Warren, and I don't know that it was. I think Kevin's initial plan was to hold off, not even play, was a good one. But then the players, Ohio State especially, and Nebraska, they get involved and they're demanding to play, and the SEC and these other conferences are starting to play. So then they have to. So the Big Ten figures, well, we got to do this, and there might be lawsuits, and so they take a big chance. And look what's happened. And Minnesota had its last 2 games canceled. Wisconsin, one of the best teams in the country, it's lost 2 or 3 games, and maybe not. Ohio State might not even be able to get into college football playoffs. So to me, it's sad that, but TV money, and they go ahead and make what they can out of this thing. If it were up to me, if I were commissioner, of course I don't have a lot of stake in this thing, but I just assume find some way to take the year off and be safe for everybody. But who knows if that's the answer either? Who knows if people every day all these hundreds more, thousands are dying, and so tough call. Bill Robertson had to make a really tough call, and Kevin Warren and these other commissioners, tough calls, and hope it works out somehow.
It's been crazy, right? Because we had a Wednesday afternoon football game a couple of days ago in the NFL.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah.
And there's even been some speculation of late that the NFL might close the season early.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's really where we're left at.
I don't think it's going to happen either, Patrick, because they need that playoff money, and there's so much money. I mean, look at the sports and money. I mean, I see LeBron James 2 days ago signs for $85 million, 2-year contract. The NBA has a 24 billion, not million, billion 9-year TV contract. Money drives all this stuff, and back my picture. Hold my picture. Oh, there you go. My picture just went dark. Yeah. So that's what it comes down to. It's kind of sad in a way, but it's just like this artificial crowd noise that I mentioned. It's just it's almost so artificial that like Denver plays without its 4 quarterbacks, the Broncos the other day. What is that? So it put all kinds of asterisks on at the end of these sports, at the end of these seasons, I suppose.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, do you think once we have the vaccine and we can go back and gather in crowds again, do you think fans will be racing back to sports venues? Will they be comfortable coming back in? And what do you think the fan experience will be like once we open up the gates again? Clearly it's going to change some as a result of what's happened.
No question. I think the first thing is I don't think people will clamor to be back. I think there's a segment of people that will want to be at the ballparks and at the stadiums all the time. And then there's another group, a big clump, that'll say, I want to see how it goes, and I want to see what happens with this pandemic. And even if we have a vaccine, can we go safely and make it happen? So I think it's going to be a gradual effect. I think we're looking out 2 years before you're actually going to see full stadiums and arenas and rinks. That's just my gut feeling right now. I mean, I want to go attend a sporting event as much as anybody, like the two of you do, whether it's sitting in a press box or sitting in a stands or a suite or whatever the case may be. But it's going to be interesting to see how many people really want to come back. And then as in regards to your fan experience question, Patrick, the days of the vendors walking up and down the aisles and handing you a hot dog or handing you your sandwich or your beer and pouring the beer or whatever the case may be, I think those days are long gone. And I think the lines, when you go to a concession stand, and everything will be pre-packaged. So to a fan and a fan experience, it's going to change dramatically. And that's why you're going to see some fans say, I want to wait and see and let people try it and get all the kinks out before they even want to come back and do it safely. And a lot of people are saying, I can go to my own refrigerator and grab my own soda, my own chips and salsa, and I can go to the bathroom and not have to wait in any lines. And I'm just going to wait and see how it goes. So I think there's a large segment that will do that, but I also think there's going to be a segment that want to go and want to see these games.
I do think, though, that when you're back into the close confines of a sports venue, you're literally shoulder to shoulder with strangers, and one of them coughs. You're going to think about it a little differently, maybe, than you did, in 2019 or before this all happened, right? So I do think that there will be some trepidation by a certain population of the fan base that just isn't going to be anxious to get back into an environment like that. It's going to take some time. I don't think fans are going to be racing back the moment that it's the all clear is given.
And as a sports executive, I would say that all the teams locally and nationally are thinking about that. And if they're not, they should be thinking about the future and how that's going to look. Because if they don't, they're going to get caught and well behind other franchises in their own home communities. So I think they really need to be thinking about, do we really believe we're going to have 18,000 people at a hockey rink? Are we going to have 40,000 at a baseball ballpark? They may have to cut it in half for a while and see how that goes and distance people, and then figure out all the other mechanics that go with a game too. And one other piece, we talked about this, I think before, maybe offline, but the conversation for both of you, you used to carry in your wallet or your pockets, you had actual cash. And I think that whole experience of handling cash and coins is all going to go by the wayside, and everything will be done via a credit card of some sort. And that's the only way a transaction will happen.
I was talking to a vendor the other day, Billy, a famous vendor in the Twin Cities, who reiterated what you're saying. It's going to affect his tips, their tips. They don't want no more cash. So he was worried about that. But to Billy's point about television and fans, Patrick, I think people are discovering television, how great that can be on your couch, and with those nachos and the salsa and the popcorn and the hamburger and the soda pop and all that. And then the replays. Television is so good. I go to games. I don't see most of the stuff that people see on television with those replays, fumbles, other sorts of interceptions. Replays on television are so good. In fact, frankly, I don't know why a person would go to pay for parking. The Vikings games, some of the parking places are $50, $55 to park your car. Ticket prices. I know the university the other day had football tickets this year for decent seats. You had to pay a $600 what I call extortion fee on top of just for the price to be able to have the right to pay for the tickets for football. $400 for a season ticket for basketball. And television is so good, and it's so comfortable in your home, as Bill was saying. I mean, I think people are discovering how good it is, and that's going to affect fans going back to the ballpark, I think, too. And who pays? You take you and your wife and your kids to say a Gopher basketball game or a Twins game. That's, what is that? $300 counting parking and having to leave early and the inconvenience of trying to find a parking spot. And then, of course, the climate around the ballpark sometimes now too. I mean, all the unrest that there's been. I mean, and a lot of even shootings and all that. I mean, I think people are going to rediscover, if they haven't discovered it, television, and how good that can be to watch a sporting event.
But speaking of television, Charlie, the NBA ratings, the finals were down 49%.
Yeah.
The NHL finals were down 61%.
Yeah.
Even the NFL's ratings are down. Baseball ratings down. Golf, horse racing, everything across the board. The ratings have fallen off, and cord cutting is happening like never before. Should that be a reason for sports and sports administrators to be concerned? Sports just not the same priority that it was for us in the past.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of that this year is the artificiality, if that's a word, of all this stuff, the condensed seasons, the teams not being able to play with their full rosters, that sort of thing. Maybe people say it's almost fake for me. It's not a legitimate thing. Maybe that's part of it. But yeah, absolutely, Patrick. That's scary. If I were running leagues, and Billy, if he's doing that stuff, I'd be really concerned about that, about people coming back and the ratings. I mean, people watching that. I need to watch. I mean, I watch a good share because I want to be informed. Although that's not my main source of information, but if I didn't have to, there's lots of other things to do. Maybe people are discovering bike rides and hikes and outdoor sports, and then of course all the money that the athletes, some of these guys. I remember your good friend Frank Wilsey once told me, I don't mind the players getting as much money as they do, especially now, but I do mind that they act like they deserve it. So that might be backfire on a lot of people's impressions of pro athletes and so on. I think it's never been worse in a lot of ways.
Well, I don't think that you're going to see the salaries, even though we just saw LeBron James and the Lakers sign Anthony Davis for a huge $185 million contract. So in 2 days, the Los Angeles Lakers signed these two players to unheard of numbers in the climate that we're in with this pandemic. But when 40% of your revenue comes from ticket sales, it's going to affect people. And I think another piece to all this, gentlemen, is you're going to see season tickets. People are going to really think about that hard. Do we really need season tickets? I may want to go to a game or two or four, but I don't know if I need season tickets anymore. We need a suite? Do we need club seats? Don't know if we need that anymore. I want to pick and choose a couple of sporting events. And what that's going to end up doing is driving the salaries in the professional game down. And they're going to have for time because the owners are not going to be able to pay those type of salaries anymore. In particular, if the ratings are down over time, if the ratings are down, the money that comes in for television is not going to be as big. I am surprised though that ratings are down as much as they are in the summer. And I don't know if that's because these sports were played at different times than they normally are, with the NHL and NBA playing in the summertime. I don't know if that had a bit to do with it, but I would say that more people, I think, are watching sports on television than ever before. And they're getting a whole new audience. They may be getting new audiences on different mechanisms, on TikTok and on YouTube and other channels where you can get live sporting events, Roku and Hulu and all those other places. So I see that as another changing facet to all this during a pandemic.
Patrick, I just wanted to ask you this, as a guy who was a terrific marketing official for the Twins. I'm curious about your opinion of why those ratings are down.
Charlie, I think it's a combination of things. I think part of it is the artificiality that you talked about. I think the pandemic forced us to find ways to stay occupied when sports weren't happening. Of course, March Madness was shut down, the Masters was moved, Kentucky Derby was moved, baseball wasn't taking place, NBA, NHL, everybody shut down. And so you sort of got out of the routine of sitting in front of the television and watching the game that evening. And you discovered riding bikes and walking and Netflix. Lots of different things could fill your time. And, so we sort of broke out of that sports routine. I'm not somebody who's really very bullish that people are going to be racing back to sports in the same way. I think that we have sort of learned some other habits and other hobbies. So people still love sports. They'll still watch sports. They'll go back to the arenas at some point. I just don't know that it's going to happen as quickly as maybe we think it will.
Good.
The other issue, gents, that has really been important over the course of this past year is social injustice and racial injustice and how sports has played a role in that. Obviously, that was spurred by what happened in Minneapolis with the killing of George Floyd, and that carried over globally. And a lot of athletes became involved and used their platforms to send a message about racial injustice. Do you think that is something that is going to continue? And what are your thoughts about athletes using their platforms to make a point? And Bill, I read just the other day, a couple of, I think, University of North Dakota hockey players kneeled for the national anthem.
Yeah, you haven't seen much of that in the National Hockey League or in college hockey or amateur hockey for that matter. So that's new territory for the sport and something that's going to have to be addressed. The NCAA does have rules on when you need to come out and how you need to do things during the national anthem. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I do think that an athlete has a right to themselves to promote whatever they feel is necessary, as long as it's in good taste. I think they owe it to themselves to be responsible to their fan base and to their families and to everybody surrounding the game and the owners that supply their checks. But I would say that I think there's sometimes it turns off some people, and sometimes people cheer it on. So it's kind of a mixed bag for a lot of fans, I would say. And I think it's only going to continue, and I think we're going to have to get used to athletes at all levels having some form of freedom to be able to speak their minds about concepts and ideals that they believe in.
Good. Hey guys, we're down to the last couple of minutes, so I want to ask you one quick question. We're all golfers. We're all passionate golfers. We've spent a lot of time together on the links. Golf is one of those sports that has really, in many ways, benefited from the pandemic. Again, the fact that sports weren't on television, youth sports weren't taking place, so parents had more time on the weekends to get out and tee it up. Do you think the golf boom will continue, or is this just a blip on the radar?
Well, I hope it does. Some people have either discovered golf more or rediscovered it. And you didn't mention, Patrick, that you're better than Billy and I, better golf. we still really enjoy playing together. But yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I don't. You know, the local courses, Minnesota courses, they tell us. In fact, Dave Tennis told Billy, all the three of us out at Troy Burnham 6 weeks ago, whatever, that their play is up 33%. People are buying equipment, clubs. It's up 40%. I hope it continues because it's just neat to be outside. It's a challenging sport and all that stuff. But that is a really good question. A big part of that, of course, is because people were out of work because of the pandemic and so on, so they had time to play and all that thing. And once things get back, if they get back to normal, that'll probably shut it down to regular schedules and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been neat that way.
What do you think, Bill?
I do think, though, that golf will continue to surge. There'll be more people playing the sport, but I will say this, that the one cautionary point is that we're going to have to see golf courses take a real hard look at the prices they're charging to play golf, because if people are out of work, as Charlie just stated, or they're on furlough time, they're not going to have quite the funds and the necessities to be able to do that. They may be able to go hit balls at their park or hit at the range, but they're not going to be able to pay $80, $90, $100 to play a round of golf anymore. And country clubs are going to have to look at that too. And it really needs to be an affordable sport. And I think the courses that see this now are the ones that are going to benefit the most by getting the maximum amount of golfers onto a golf course and still keeping their courses in pristine condition and enjoy the 6 months or so you get to play golf in the state of Minnesota. Or if you're in California or Arizona, you can play year round. So it really has to be looked at.
Yeah. Well, Billy, you and I are just we're Muni players. We're not like Charlie, who's, country club set. So, hey guys, that's we run out of time. We could talk all afternoon. I really appreciate the conversation. It's been an interesting year in sports, to be sure. Hopefully better times lay ahead in 2021. But it's a pleasure, a privilege, and glad you could join me this afternoon.
Thanks, Patrick. You and Billy keep up the great work with this program. It's fun to see. See you guys.
And thank you for watching Behind the Game.